Welcome to All the Best, an interview series with UNL Orca awardees, where UNL means University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and Orca is the Outstanding Research and Creativities Award, which is UNL's top award. In Gerda Lerner's book, Why History Matters, she explains the life stories give meaning to the present and the future because we identify what is important to us. And she says, our stories show how we are interconnected in a particular time and place. As for this interview series, Orca awardees have experiences that reach back more than a half a century, which will give us a personal view of how the best research emerged from UNL. It is my pleasure to introduce today's interviewee, Emeritus Professor Karen Kunc. She was awarded the Orca in 1998. After I provide a quick summary of her life and career, Karen will tell us about her time at UNL, starting with her award-winning research. Karen was born in Omaha, Nebraska. Something in her youth must have sparked an interest in art because she earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln in 1975. Next, she ventured 800 miles east to Ohio State University in Columbus, where she earned a Master of Fine Arts. For the next 6 years, she enhanced her teaching credentials as a printmaking instructor at the Columbus College of Art and Design. From there, she joined the University of Nebraska-Lincoln in 1983 as a visiting but soon an assistant professor of art. She had a remarkable career as she rose through the ranks. For instance, her work has shown in at least 1,000 exhibitions and in over 120 one-person shows. Her work is in dozens of corporate and private collections and is in over 180 public collections. Karen retired in 2020 and is now running her Constellation Studios on O Street in Lincoln. With that, I want to welcome Karen to the interview.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Let's start with the first questions, which are, what was your impression about the UNL campus when you saw it for the very first time? And what are your thoughts about the campus today?
The first time I saw the campus was when I was in high school, actually. My sister was already a student at the university, and we came down for a visit. She wanted us to experience what the life was like. We stayed overnight in the dorms.
Oh, wow.
My sister and I joined my older sister.
Mhm.
So it was very exciting and kind of a destination builder is what her intention was, but also I'm sure it was for my parents. My dad was an alumni.
Oh,
So and my mother, I think, took some courses there. But seeing the campus at that time, and even when I was in school, for undergraduate school, the campus had lots of parking lots.
so this is early 70s.
Yes. So the big changes have been the moving of the parking lots away and building a landscaped environment that's beautiful. And they do such a beautiful job with all the landscape and plantings and trees and organizing it around sculpture on the campus too. So I think it's really a beautiful place and has felt like a home for me for many, many years.
Yep, no, I agree. It's gotten very beautiful. All right, let's jump right in to your award-winning research. Give us a sense of how that came about, what you actually do, and why it's important.
Well, I'm a printmaker, an artistic field that involves making printed fine arts works from the traditional print processes that are historical. 500 years old is the oldest. And I'm experienced in all of those processes for etching, engraving, mezzotints, intaglio, relief printing from woodcut and linoleum blocks or any surface, as well as lithography and screen printing. I'm knowledgeable a little bit about the digital arts, which have been introduced into contemporary printmaking practice. So I'm not an expert at all of them, but I understand them, and I think there's a whole body of knowledge that needs to be preserved. Or we're conservators of this processes because there's nothing like it. And it's the history of communication arts. So it's been very interesting for me to be in that field, and it kind of satisfies my quest for how to make these things. And the step-by-step processes and preserving oral tradition for how these have come about. For my own work, I've focused on color woodcut printmaking. Woodcuts are the oldest process anyway. It even predates Gutenberg, so it goes back farther. In Asia, it's 2,000 years old process. So, and again, it's not something that you can imitate in other ways. We don't want it to be imitated. I think it's important to preserve this engagement with the hand processes that teach you over time, over the making, to engage with materials and transform them into something that is important and unique. And I think for my own work, I developed special technical innovations to the woodcut, even though it's still the hand-done process, but my works have kind of a surprising complexity, technical innovations that people are mystified by. And so it leads to a lot of these exhibitions and opportunities to continue to teach this on a worldwide basis. So that's been very exciting to see develop. But I think art making is, of course, very important because it has a way of interpreting the world. And for me, that's what makes art, is how are things transformed through an artistic mind and hand and process to make some unique observations and interpretations of what is out there. I'm not interested in representational art myself. I do abstract, colorful work, and I believe it's as much about the influence of Nebraska as anything. I can interpret it that way, and it's how it's all filtered through me, through my experiences. And I'm still learning. That's the goal of being a creative artist, is how can you take it farther? And I know I've done that technically, but I'm challenging always myself to stretch my way of working. I could become very formulaic, but that is like the dangerous standard, is if it's easy to see, easy to do. I'm always trying to go beyond.
But it's always going to look like it's from you.
It does.
Yeah.
I think I have a particular aesthetic that's unique, and it's hard to even explain. It's a visual thing.
Right.
I think it actually comes from my body. It's how I might make an angle, how I place things in a balance or imbalance. Those things that I've actually cultivated and worked to bring out as my aesthetic, my choices, those can be very unique. And I'm very lucky to have this. I can't make art any other way. So my work looks very different from a lot of work out in the world.
Do you have particular shapes you like? Particular colors? Color palette?
I do have some favorite colors, like blues are very important to me, but also there's a kind of a vermilion red or celadon red. No, it's not celadon. Erase that. It's cinnabar red. Some of those unusual reds, because they work with the other colors. So I'm always looking for that simultaneous contrast between colors, or colors speak to me. I've said that in public before, and that's a strange thing, non-verbally, but you put one color down and other colors need to go with it. It's probably something in the rods and cones of our eyes, that if you have something, there's a lack, and then you need to put that other thing there, and then they fulfill a relationship. So I'm always looking for that, and it surprises me all the time. And I don't want to know the mystery because it could take it away. I like the unusual things that can happen with color in my work.
So it sounds like it's not really balance that you're looking for. It's something else, more, some kind of a tension or maybe yeah.
I say edgy
Okay.
often. I like that edgy uh, because it makes things happen. It makes the eyes move and the look and the mind starts spinning and ideas can emerge. Um, and everybody's open to that interpretation. I certainly have my own, but it's very open-ended. And there can be lots of sidelines to what the meaning is in each work. Certainly the meanings are significant, but they're embedded inside all of this colorful orchestration and then through interpretation and study and looking, slow looking is actually even a good thing.
So yeah, artists, they create the art, there's products, and then other people see those products. And then how do you think about that relationship? Do you ever think about the viewers while you're making the art?
I can never predict what the viewer is going to like, and I don't really care. Even though, of course, I want people to respond. And it's meant to be out there in the world. And because I make prints, they exist in editions. They're multiples. They can be seen in lots of different places simultaneously around the world, in fact. So I know that's a really important teaching aspect of my art, that it can go out there and cause these interactions with people. But when I'm making it, it's a struggle.
You're not thinking of the viewer, you're thinking of you.
Yes.
You're thinking of the wood in front of you or whatever.
I need to satisfy my own standard that I have already set. I've had works that have set the stage for me. So I have to make everything come up to that level. And obviously, I couldn't do it every single time. There probably are some terrible works in the whole body of over 400 some images that I've made. And but also they all did something for me while I was making it. It pushed me. I struggled with it. I came to some solutions, and that's good.
So you do multiples, sort of what range of multiples are we talking about here?
Well, because I carve into the wood block, then I put ink on the surface and put a piece of paper on it and run it through the printing press. So lately, I like to do editions of about 8 to 14. I used to do editions about 25, but it takes, it's not any faster with doing more. The largest edition I just did this last year as a commission for the Cleveland Museum of Art Print Club.
Wow.
And that was 250.
Oh, wow.
So that
Wow.
was that took a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So does the wood ever run out? Can you always reuse the wood after you carve it?
Well, I save the blocks. They're
You do?
beautiful, they're artifacts, but I can't use them to make a new edition. I prefer to redesign some of the same motifs and carve it again, and then it's always slightly different. I think the old blocks that have been used are carved too much away already. So they're interesting, and they might appear in a monoprint or something, but usually I can get more wood.
Yep, sure.
So it's easy to,
Sure.
and it's part of my stretching of the idea. If I want to make a lot of forms similarly, I want to do them in a different way.
So you like wood the most, sounds like. Is there a particular type of wood, and how much exploration have you done with woods?
Over the years, I have explored other kinds of wood, but primarily I use birch plywood. And there's a kind of birch called Baltic birch. So I'm not sure if that comes from Russia, from Canada, from Europe. But that's actually good birch layers all the way through. And I've used birch paneling, cheap veneers of the birch, and that works good too. And then the other kind of wood that a lot of us love to use is called Sheena. which is actually a basswood that is coming from Japan, but it might actually be basswood from Canada. So, so finding the quality made in Japan and it gets imported here. So it's very easy to carve. But it's
both of those
very-
are very fine grained, right?
Yeah. But there is wood grain evident, particularly in the birch. And I think that's important because the little flecks of the wood grain give a liveliness to the surface. It's not completely flat. The wood grain shows through, and that's evidence of this material that was once alive. And even that becomes a big content issue for me to think about the sacrifice of material that I have to use and transform and make it live again in another form.
So something like linoleum, though, would be bumpy, or would it be?
Well, they use a smooth linoleum. I don't like it. It's kind of like carving plastic. And it's too perfect. For some people, they love it because of that quality. For me, it just, I don't like that. I like the struggle with the wood. And I can have my sharp tools, but it still asserts itself to me. So there's a struggle and a relationship.
Yeah, so I'd like to know about the pigments. Do you call them inks, or do you make your own? Do you grind your own, or?
No, I don't grind my own. I use lithography inks for offset printing that are commercially made, but in small enough quantities that they're made for fine artists too. And lithography inks are oil-based ink, and they have the highest quality because the pigments have to be ground very fine and small. And so, and it's very intense into the binder. So it makes amazing rich colors. And that's part of the mystery too of my works is how am I getting those colors? Well, actually I rarely use ink straight from the can. I have to cut it with transparent base. And that transparency expands the spaces between the pigment particles and let the paper reflect through. So that's actually a really important quality of how it can add a huge range of variabilities to the same color. And I like to play with the inks and sometimes a dirty knife and add something unusual, and then you don't even know how to make that. But I am mixing the colors with the transparency and with each other and creating colors.
And how about the cutting tools? What do you favor on that?
I have Japanese tools that are hand tools. They're beautiful knives. I've had some for 30-some years, and I can sharpen them.
My next question.
Yeah, and I have a nice variety. And I also have some American-made tools. Those are nice too. But they feel like a pencil in my hand. Oh, I can use them.
So you think your wrists are stronger than most people's?
Yeah, I can do pretty good. I'm pretty strong when I'm carving.
Good. How about the press itself? How many different presses do you have? Do you got a collection, or what's your oldest one?
Well, I have a collection here at Constellation Studios because over the years I bought used presses, some from friends. I had one press that was custom made for me, and it looks kind of funky, not machined and shiny, but very interestingly done because it's very large. It's the size of a ping pong table. So that gives a really good expansion.
You could do a big one, yeah, wow.
I think the oldest press I have is, I'm sure I got it 40 years ago, and I love that press. It's an etching press. Most of my presses are etching or letterpress. So etching presses are versatile because they can have the pressure adjusted for different thicknesses of material, and they can print intaglio, which is off of the metal plates, and the ink is below the surface, as well as relief, which is where the wood blocks are. Ink is on the top surface. So etching and relief are actually opposite.
Right. That's a lot to play with right there.
Yeah.
But how about the paper?
Yes.
This all strikes me that is very important.
It is, and it's something that I've learned about over the years. I am in favor of using for my works very high quality Japanese handmade papers. I've recently gotten some handmade paper from Korea, and that works beautifully too. If I use those papers, it's really in the hands of the experts and the traditions. And I can make handmade paper, but I can't make it of that quality. So I would prefer to make my additions on that. I can play around with handmade paper and make for unique projects, but I can't even make the size or scale that I can get from these beautiful Japanese papers. It's called washi. Washi means handmade paper, and usually it's made from a fiber of the kozo plant. And the kozo plant is related to the mulberry tree.
Oh, wow.
So in here, we let our mulberry trees grow wild.
We do.
In Asia, the kozo plants are cultivated. So they're used by trimming every fall, steaming the branches, getting the inner bark, not the pulpy part, just the inner strong bark that's cooked and cleaned and washed in rivers and the sun bleached in the snow and cleaned by the little grandmothers.
Wow.
So there's a lot of processing to that handmade paper.
Wow.
Elevates its quality.
And so the paper it sounds like you don't want absorbing paper at all, right?
Well, it's actually absorbent in
is.
its way.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's translucent. The light reflects through it.
Okay.
But it's really strong. And so one term that a lot of people say for these Asian type papers are rice papers. It has nothing to do with rice.
Just thin as the paper on the rice.
Thin and strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell us about one or two of your early graduate students or visiting artists, and what were their projects and what happened in their careers?
Well, over the years, I should have added up how many graduate students I've had. I'm sure it's over 30 over these years, probably more. Some of the important ones are strike that part important. The ones who've gone on to their own academic careers have had wonderful outcomes. Being full professors at Washington University in St. Louis is Doug Dowd, and he's published books, and he does his own printmaking. He's extremely intelligent and really made a field for himself about reviving the world of illustrations as an art historical process that inculcates into everybody's psyche, and we kind of put it in our background, but it's part of visual language, material culture. And then Emma Nishimura, she came from Canada to come for our graduate program. And a few years ago, she won the Queen Sophia Prize in printmaking. Wow. And that's the Queen of Norway or Sweden. I forget which one. She actually gives an award. Wow. And Emma received that, got to meet David Hockney in London and join in the celebration. Now she's back in Toronto and she's teaching in her academic career. And I can count all these graduate students that in a way I still know where they're at. We have a connection that will always be there. Some have been chairman of their departments and academics in their own way, or working in art centers they've just really kept going, which is the important thing. How do you keep going as an artist and find a niche for yourself? Some of it's in academia and some are working as successful artists on their own. Like Hannah Dema here locally. Yeah, she's been out of graduate school now 2 or 3 years, and she's had several administrative roles and will help here at the studio.
So how does it work to be a graduate student in an art department? What happens? Do you get a little room? How does that work out?
Well, they are provided a studio space, often a shared studio space. And they then have in printmaking, of course, they have to use the main studios, but we have a graduate studio for the printmakers. And so the undergraduates cannot come in there and make a mess.
It's the key.
Yeah. And they end up creating a good camaraderie among themselves in their shared spaces and work collaboratively, and they help teach in the area. They teach the beginning printmaking classes or the beginning printmaking for non-majors. That's also a significant class for them to teach.
And their thesis is the final show?
Yeah, they have an exhibition at the end of their 3-year program, and they also have to write a thesis statement. So they are doing the historical research, the threads of content that they can find by their readings. Like Emma's research was about the Japanese internment during World War II, even in Canada, it took place, and her grandparents were there. So she's researched that and looked at the study, but visited the sites and followed the letters and writings and readings about it. It's been a very consuming and very interesting, expansive idea for.
Wow. Visiting artists, do you have many of those?
Well, every year we would have 1 or 2 visiting artists come to the department, and in printmaking, there were others in the other areas in the School of Art. So it was always interesting to invite people that I wanted to know more about. Probably, who's the most important one that came? I don't know. So many good ones.
But just the idea that you chose them and they came, yeah.
Yeah.
Spending a semester or a whole year?
No, they would spend a week.
A week. There we go.
At different times, I was able to host artists for a Fulbright from Bangladesh was here for 9 months. I also hosted an artist from Egypt when he was working on his PhD, which is what they got in fine arts in Egypt. And he was in Lincoln for 2 years. That was a great thing. I had Finnish artists come a couple times, so that was always expanding too. They were wonderful. And then we hosted artists once a year to create an edition of prints for the Under Pressure Print Club. And that was everybody, the students and me and the graduate students and the faculty, Francisco, and we were all printing these editions in the space of a week. And that was really amazing and fun.
That sounds fun, yeah.
Yeah.
So let us move on to being a professor, and universities, we're always evaluating each other. So how does your field define impact, and really how do we quantify impact, which is what everybody wants to do, but it's super hard, and it's often, I believe, at odds with what we actually do and what we actually think is important. So
Yeah.
that's a big topic for you.
I know. Well, obviously, impact was, you needed to speculate on what the impact would be on all your projects when you wrote a grant. So that's really where it came out that we were working on that. And I'm sure in the annual personal evaluation form that we filled out, what was that called?
Yeah, annual performance evaluation.
Yeah. So I'm sure impact was listed on there too.
Yep.
in my mind, what I was always looking for and aiming for my own idea of impact was the range of scope. Does it go beyond just the local? Does it reach into a national and international level? I think that was a good indicator. If somebody had an exhibition somewhere, somehow, an invitation, that could be an impact. Plus, I think we took into account the impact on our teaching. How would it fold into how you taught and developed your curriculum, the assignments that your students would have? And again, I think it's all kind of speculation.
Yeah.
How is it really? There's no guarantee of any of that.
So you have a show, you don't know how many people are going to show up, but if you want to quantify it, you would quantify how many people showed up and looked. But then what does that mean really?
Yeah. And actually, I don't think we did get down to numbers like that.
Right.
Because it's an impossible thing to know. You don't
It's not desirable. It's a no.
No, and
but connecting it to teaching also. I mean, you know how many students you teach, and you know.
Yeah. I think the impact is looking at, you can see the threads in people's CVs. You know, did one little thing end up leading to something else? Did it lead to something else? Did they take the initiative to take it some direction? And I can see it in my CV, but there's a lot of pages to wade through. But I can see it in other people's works, and that's where we were looking for that. That was always my criteria when I served on the executive committee.
Yep, no, absolutely. What was your most unexpected exhibition, and did it take your work in a new direction?
Let's see. Actually, maybe the unexpected one, I got invited to go to an art camp in Egypt. We were there for 2 weeks or 3 weeks at a university, at El Minya University, and I didn't know I was going to have a solo show.
Oh.
So, we were all working away. Oh, Karen, you're having a solo show. You're now the big celebrated artist that we invited, along with another artist invited from Italy.
Oh.
So the two of us had solo shows. Fortunately, I usually bring a portfolio of my prints with me. They can be rolled up in a mailing tube, and I can carry it on my shoulder. So I must have brought enough that there's enough work for the solo show. But the whole experience was an amazing experience to be in Egypt among these other international artists working in an art camp style. That's where everybody is working. The students came and helped. They observed lots of discussions and slideshows for everybody. It was really an amazing experience.
Was it all printmaking, or was it
all media?
All media.
And often on some of these international trips, I've wanted to bring a graduate student along with me. Because then I have somebody to share it with. They get to see that experience. So I had Jewel Knoll come with me for that trip. She was a big hit with the students too.
An American.
Yes. And we're always so
Midwesterners. Let's see. Do you recall creative works that you thought were really good, but were not among your best received?
Like I said, I'm sure there's works that didn't move anybody in certain ways, and that's all right.
Yeah.
I have ones that for some reason became really popular, and I could try to analyze that, but it never works. And I'm not after that anyway, exactly, and you can see people who do that. They kind of imitate themselves, that they get into a role where they are trapped. They have to do the same thing all the time because people would be unhappy. But I don't think I have anything that's easy to categorize that way. And I feel that I'm able to take lots of different directions. It still all looks like mine. So I'm lucky that way.
Right.
But I have pieces that nobody seemed to care much about. But to me, I can see why it was important at the time, why I had to do it, the solutions I took to solve this print. And actually, I usually say in every one of my prints, in the middle stages, they're pretty ugly. And I feel like, why did I start this? And but that's good to get it backed into a corner somehow. You have to pull yourself out, make unusual choices, risk it all with something that's going to happen. And that risk factor is really important to have. That's how I keep learning, why I take a chance on something and try to resolve it somehow. And what's resolution? You know, to me, it's if I don't have a question left. So I'm looking at the work and there's questions. If this is bugging me, that I thought of something here, this doesn't seem right. And if I work on those things, then it ends up leading me on. And I want that. I feel like there's a relationship between me and the art piece, actually. It starts having a life and starts telling me what to do.
So you like the problems.
Yeah. The problems are good.
So here's a big question, and you can answer as many parts as you want. But this again gets into being a professor. Tell me about editorship, society leadership, curatorial activities, and books, etc. Big, huge topic.
Yes. And in a way, we may not do editorships in the arts, but I think that's related to curatorial activities. If I organize exhibitions and curate or serve as a juror out in the world, all of those are part of this making selections and finding connections between others' works. I think one of my most important facets has been doing curatorial projects where I created an exhibition of Polish prints. I invited artists of Czech origins and nationals of Czech in the country to send their prints when we had one of the conferences from the Great Plains Arts, Great Plains Center. And then I organized an exhibition of finished woodcut prints that was here at Nebraska, but it toured to 8 locations around the country and went back to Finland and was exhibited there. And that was a really amazing big project. And we made a catalog. And so those kinds of activities. I organized a show of Egyptian printmakers and then Americans that were shown in Egypt. So there's those threads that have gone through. So that's been really a significant thing to do. I think that's part of my research into what is happening in prints around the world. You see great works by great artists that nobody would never hear of them. They're not household names, but they're my peers. They're people that are doing important work out there. And if I see things, I have a really good eye in making beautiful exhibitions. And so when I get to be a juror, that usually happens too, beautiful exhibitions.
So you were probably a juror first and then asked to curate something, or the other way around?
Kind of gone mixed up
Okay.
all these times. I just juried a show for the this summer. It was at the Duxbury Museum of Art in Massachusetts for the New England Monoprint Guild. So that's unique prints that everybody sent in, and you have to sort through 700 images and come up with 75. It's very fascinating. My curiosity factor is at work. And then knowing, I didn't know the artist, but knowing this process and this technique and how a little bit of all those were represented, but they gelled very well. It's a beautiful show. So,
And then society leaderships.
mhm.
So I'm sure there are art societies you're a member of, and
Yes, I've been a member of the Southern Graphics Council International, the Mid-America Print Council, Boston Printmakers, California Society of Printmakers.
wow.
In a way, they take in anybody because they sponsor membership shows.
Mm.
And if you're from anywhere, it's an important way to take part. And so I've been part of those, not as an officer, because often I'm far away. But I have served on the International Mokuhanga Conference in Japan. I was on the board, then I was the chairman of the board for
Wow.
a couple of years, opened the conferences in Japan a couple times. That was pretty amazing, and put together the whole program for the conference. And Mokuhanga is the Japanese style of woodblock printing. So that was an important connection to make with a lot of different people. And wonderful to have translators translating for me at the openings. And
Yeah.
I get to give the awards to people.
So I think I first met you when you were the president of the Nebraska Women's Caucus for Art.
Yes. God, it was,
Which I believe was in 1995. So,
could be.
and my wife became the president 2 years later.
Yes.
What were your thoughts about that?
Actually, I have always thought when we had the Nebraska Women's Caucus for Art, it was great for us. It made connections all across the state. And there were several exhibitions and projects that we did. It was really informative and supportive. We needed to do it for those years, at least 10 years, I think we had the caucus for it. And maybe then it kind of outgrew its time. It outgrew the members and kind of
2005-ish, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's still some groups that are meeting. And I run into these people all over the place too. So it was special.
So were you among the founders of the Nebraska caucus, or how did that happen? Do you remember?
I don't even remember. I might have been in the first group that started this when they started. And I think it was because there was an artist, Betsy Damon, who went around and did some kind of empowerment workshops. I can't remember what those were called. And we would meet in people's living rooms. And out of that came this idea that there needs to be a group.
I see.
And then some of those artists were thinking about making an exhibition and a book to document.
And I think the caucus met with the national group. It coincided with the major art?
Yeah, the College Art Association.
College Art Association.
Yeah, so I went to College Art Association conferences for years and joined in some of those women's caucus for art. But over the years, the printmaking conference started being much more interesting to me, so I stopped going to the College Art Association. That was so art historically focused. And the print conferences were my community, and they still had an international scope, especially the Southern Graphics Council that meets annually. Now they're going to start meeting biannually.
Wow.
But it was always a great meeting of people, 1,500, 2,000 printmakers, an open portfolio, showing everybody each other what we were doing, and such energy and young people coming into it. So it was a very significant thing.
That's a visual feast.
Yes. And then in 2004, I was the host for the Mid-America Print Council conference that met in Lincoln. And it was a great conference. I got to do all the things I like to have, no busing. People could walk everywhere. And I still hear from people that it was their favorite conference they ever went to. The best one.
Good. Good.
I agree.
Okay. How was your research funded? You mentioned travel. And then how did those funding organizations change over the time you were at UNL?
Well, most of my funding came through UNL.
Hmm.
I was lucky that way, and the college has travel money, and it's competitive. You have to write the grant with the impact statement and everything.
Yep.
And those were really significant to get me around for all these events and conferences. I did receive higher level awards through the university. I can't remember them all, but certainly the Layman grant, I got that one. And then there was one about the arts initiative, something like that. Those grants, they were very significant. It's enabled important projects. And then I had kind of like material grant projects where I proposed doing an artist book. Got funding for doing that. And
from UNL.
yeah.
Oh.
So most of my funding came from that way. When I hosted the Mid-America Print Council Conference, I did broaden my scope and went out and got a Scandinavian American grant and several other national level grants to host the conference. So I was able to raise a lot of money for that. That was a big effort.
Absolutely. So how about the visiting artists? Who paid for that? How did you pay for that?
The visiting artists that came were through the department.
Oh, okay.
And like the one that had the Fulbright grant, that was from the Fulbright. The Egyptian artist came with funding from his institution. So some of those dovetailed into our annual allotment that we would get for each area for our visiting artist choice.
Yep, from the college. Yep.
Yep.
So we talked about printmaking, but what other techniques did you use in your creative activity or research? And then how did that change over time? How much?
Well,
what else have you explored?
Well, I've mentioned the artist books.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's an offshoot, certainly from my printmaking, because I use my printmaking techniques and imagery, but I'm doing a hand-produced book in a small edition. These might be editions of 50. And I think the artist book field is very interesting and relates to printmaking history. You know, where's the print going to go? It goes in a book. It's kind of nice to have that outcome. And it's been, of course, traditional, historical. The artist books have been really important for me to do because of kind of marrying materials, physicality, they're sculptural, they're a form that everybody knows. So there's kind of a common denominator about that. And they're very accessible to libraries and librarians. And making that connection for the work to go out that way has been really interesting. And I just love the form. And it's a big puzzle also. How's it going to go together? Sometimes I start with the imagery and then I need a poem to go with it.
Yeah.
Then I have to find a poet or read poems for a while, commission a poem. And usually if I commission, it's a trade-off. They get some of the artist books and they're happy to have something so beautifully made that houses their poem. So that's been a really fascinating parallel world to my printmaking. And then they're small and easy to travel with.
Right. They are beautiful. I've seen lots of them.
Yeah, and it's a publication, but I'm the publisher. And it kind of goes back to the power of the press. If you have the presses, you can do whatever you want. And that's been a revolutionary attitude for centuries. They break the presses first.
Yeah.
So I don't have to wait for somebody to initiate the project. I can initiate something that looks real and has a great physicality to it.
And since it really is a work of art, do you need to copyright it? What do you think about copyright?
Well, technically, we used to have to put the little symbol on everything. Then they changed those rules. And it's all assumed that everything you make is in your copyright.
Okay.
Or you have to prove it after if something comes along and something is stolen.
Right.
I'm not sure my things would ever get stolen. They're not popular. They don't kind of fit the genre of the things that do get cannibalized.
No, I agree that beautiful things are not super favored,
Yeah.
which is disturbing.
Doesn't have to bother celebrity.
Yeah. All right. In some ways, art is cooperative and competitive. All things are cooperative and competitive. So I'd like to know whether your creative activity was ever co-opted or did somebody else produce similar results at the same time?
Well, I don't think so. Partially because my work is so unique. People could try to imitate it, but it doesn't carry the same quality and the same unusual stuff. I have taught all over the place. So there should be imitators everywhere. And they might imitate some of the techniques, but that's not the only thing that makes my work. And in a way, that's why I'm open to being a teacher. Because as a printmaker, we do like to share things. And we all are interested in how is that done? That's like the first question. And how is it done leads to why is it done and what does it mean, all that. So I don't think it's a bad problem, but printmakers have been criticized about being in our silo about only techniques. And I don't think that's true. But we do like technique. But I always tell everybody I'm trying to go faster so that they're all behind me.
Right.
With all this teaching that I've done.
Right. Now that is ironic about teaching, right? You tell them everything.
Yeah. I've given away billions of great ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not doing it. So I can't do anything now.
Was your work ever involved in a controversy, and how was it resolved?
I think the controversies would be, I think I mentioned this the other day, that I do try to get my work out there, and the way everybody aspires to have a gallery represent your work. You're in the stable of the gallery. But most of those places have been far away, and I can send and ship my prints, but I'm not there on site constantly. And to find out that they're selling my work and not telling me or paying me happened with the gallery several times probably, but one in San Francisco, and I ended up thinking I made her go bankrupt because I asked for my money. And it started the ball rolling. And the California Lawyers for the Arts took on my case.
Oh, wow.
And brought her to justice. But I didn't get totally fully compensated, and that wasn't the point. So maybe that's, the vagaries of dealing with all this marketing and how art is out in the world is a struggle and not very fair to the artists very much, but that's kind of the way it is. So
Right. So yeah, how do you define a successful artist? It's sort of related to that.
Yeah, and actually everybody would want to think it's about money, but I actually think it's about their own high standards and growth. How are they growing as an artist? And you can see some people who stay at the same place because
it's comfortable.
It's comfortable, it's formulaic. And an artist has to keep growing, even if they have to make stuff that's no longer popular. I think that's the way it goes.
Let's see. So is there anything else before we move on to other career activities? Covered a lot of ground.
Yeah. Let's see, what did I write here? Oh, the slippery slope. Which is the success issue.
Okay.
Because people could be getting success, but then they're afraid to shake that up.
Mm.
And then it becomes this slippery slope to making,
To mediocrity.
not growing. I think the difficult thing with fine art is, and in my work especially, is a lot of it is nonverbal.
Mm.
And in contemporary art for the last 30 years, verbal explorations have dominated.
Mm.
And we see that in the art magazines, you see it in the awards given, explanations, more verbiage that can happen is almost a sign of being more important than things that are more intangible and harder to describe. I've sat in on committees where the term is, oh, it's merely beautiful. What a horrible.
Ouch.
And actually, then the other contradictory one is, this is cutting edge, it's raw, it's really, so my work doesn't fit into that. And I'm actually beyond merely beautiful. I do aspire to having beautiful work, but beauty invites you in and it twists your mind up and you have things to look at and not just read.
Right.
So that,
But the spending time with art and looking at it,
mhm.
most people don't do that.
No, and it's not valued and it's turned away. And every once in a while, beauty becomes revived in the art world. Oh, beauty is back.
Is that right?
Yes, and it's written. And then the next year it's out again. So that conflict between these two sides are really not mutually exclusive, but it is a very interesting and difficult conundrum in the arts.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. So we hit on society activity already. Let's talk about sabbaticals. What did you do? And then did it ever change your direction?
Well, not technically did it change my direction. It always gave me more to think about. And the reason I traveled so much, because it was an opportunity to open your eyes. And you're always looking with a comparison. I think when I travel, I see things more than I do in my normal life. So you look at every little thing that could be an interesting understanding about how these people are living. How does it compare to home? And it makes me miss home, but then when I'm home, I want to be out there. So that ability to go and see all these things, and I've done a lot of traveling, some not always just on sabbatical, just, going to a conference, going to one of these teaching opportunities or an exhibition. So it's been real interesting to have that. I think the first sabbatical I had was when I went to Japan. And yeah, it made me cry.
You're in heaven.
Yes. And of course, I've been influenced by Asian art and particularly Japanese art ever since I was in undergraduate school and took art history from Gail Butts and heard all the explanations for how things looked the way they did and realized that's how I see. So it did influence me from the art history, but then being there on site and seeing how it actually looks, how people see the world lying on a futon looking up. It's very different than looking in perspective.
Did you see the paper being made? Yeah.
I saw handmade paper.
Wow.
Woodblock printing. I did my own printing while I was there, not in the Japanese method. That was on a later trip. I went and did the Japanese block printing method, which contrasts with the Western method. So you get these two differences that are interesting to compare. I'm trying to blend them aesthetically and technically somewhat.
Do they make multiples?
Yeah. Yeah. The woodblocks, the Japanese ukiyo-e woodblock prints like the Great Wave are now in everybody's consciousness.
Absolutely.
But it's a woodblock.
Okay.
And they can still make that great wave, even though Hokusai is long gone.
Oh, wow.
But they make it in different sizes because of the tourist trade.
Mm.
And so it's a technique that is being taught now more generally than it used to, especially because Westerners are fascinated by the process.
Mm.
Internationally, it's fascinating.
Mm.
So a lot of people go for training. And I also went to Venice. Where else did I go? Washington, D.C. I can't remember. Oh, Anderson Ranch Art Center, New York. So over the years, I had these several opportunities to do more long-term.
And so always, for how long?
Maybe a month or 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was maybe Finland. That's another one.
And in the summer?
I did both summer and winter time.
Yeah, it depends on where you go in the winter. Let's then talk about service contributions. Which ones do you remember most in the department, the university, the community, and nationally?
I think for the community, the most important one was for the Under Pressure Print Club, which was our art department support group for the printmaking area, where we invited a visiting artist to come in and spend a week with us and make an edition of prints. And that lasted 20 years. We had that group. It was a lot of work, finding the right person and organizing all the members to contribute. And they received a print in exchange. But that was really educational for all of us to do this activity. And my goal was to have people understand how prints are made. So to have this support group from the community come and watch the process was really fun. And they still don't quite understand the differences between all those processes, but it was good.
So how did you get the people from the community? How did you choose them?
First, it was kind of a general invitation to the collectors in town and people I knew and from my different circles, people who wanted to support art, support my teaching efforts. It was really fun. And then we'd have social events and things like that. And then I did kind of helped start the Art at Cedar Point programs at the department. I was invited by the Cedar Point faculty to see if there would be a way to dovetail art workshops out there. So some of us have taught a regular summer course out there for a couple of weeks. We also work with the local children to teach a summer camp where the undergraduate students teach these art camp kids.
Nice.
They have so much fun.
Nice.
And then there's an artist in residence. So artists can apply. And it's gone up and down a little bit of interest. So I think they're still doing facets of this out there. But it was an important thing because then it brought the artists among the scientists that were working. And for them to see artists being very serious was good. And for us to look at the dissection of a creature was pretty fascinating. Or the studies of nature. They had baby turtles that were being studied.
Cute.
It was fun.
Did they have to do scientific illustration as part of their work?
The
scientists?
Maybe,
Yeah.
not the art students. They were doing watercolor or journaling, or I had them do printmaking and bookmaking. Printing on the prairie. I took a small backpack press, took it out onto the prairie and print from grasses and a snake skin that we found out there. That was really special.
That is special.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, really wild art.
Yes.
How about in the department? What service committees?
For quite a number of years, I was the head of the scholarship committee. And that was one I enjoyed doing because making the decisions of giving away money for all these students that were getting high grades was really wonderful. I served on the executive committee probably 3 different times, visiting artist committee, graduate committee. Yeah. So,
How about the university?
well, it seems like if you get one of these grants or awards, then you serve on the committee.
Yeah, right.
So I did that a number of years, and then I was on another committee, for the Distinguished Professorships
Oh.
Committee, because I received a
Yeah,
professorship.
yeah.
So,
Quid pro quo.
yes, and actually, again, it's about giving away recognitions. So those were good for me to do. I couldn't do budgetary things or any of that. Curriculum things, no, that's over my head.
Which courses did you teach more often than others, and what are your thoughts about the courses?
Well, I always taught advanced printmaking and alternated with some of the other grad students and my colleague Francisco with the beginning printmaking. In order to have some of the grad students have experience teaching in printmaking, then they needed to teach beginning, and then I would teach something else. Like sometimes I taught design or drawing or bookmaking or paper making. So I could alternate that things, but always I was mostly teaching printmaking, and I enjoyed that. Printmaking is where I belong. It's like you can have a sustained conversation about a project. You don't have to entertain the students with a new idea every class period. This one lasted some time. You could talk about it in depth over and over for, a month. So, and then getting them to the technical experience and the discipline of making good work. Some of them achieved that, some never could. And printmaking is not for all. Even though I would have a class of 20, my hope is that they would all fall in love, but that doesn't happen. It's hard, and they know that. And now there's a lot of distractions.
Yeah,
in the world. It's really changed.
So art undergraduates, art majors have to take a depth in some area, is that right? And then they have to explore how many other areas?
Well, it's called a distribution.
Okay.
They have to take something in all the different areas. I think recently they've changed that distribution because it was impossible for people to do it all and get done in 4 years. And so a little more ability for them to concentrate and to take things in depth. I think that's a good idea, but I also think people miss out if they don't take everything and find out. So often I would have seniors taking their first semester of printmaking and they would love it, and then they're graduating. So in a way, Constellation Studios is meant to give a place for those who find printmaking interesting. There's a way to do it outside of the class in the formal degree seeking process.
So in the beginning printmaking, how many prints would they make?
I usually had them do 5 different projects in editions. So they would have to make maybe 5 impressions of their first woodcut, 5 impressions of their first linoleum print, 5 impressions of their color print, 5 impressions of their first line etching, 5 impressions of their first dry point. So we would combine 2 different processes in the beginning class so that they would at least get a little bit of broadness, broad experiences. Lithography would usually happen if they kept going. Lithography is much more technical and exact.
So carving the wood, does that take the longest of all those?
Carving the wood?
Covering
the relief process.
Yeah.
No, that goes pretty fast. Etching is hard. Lithography is really hard. So we try to have a whole semester of lithography.
Okay. Let's move on to your youth. Where did you grow up and what was your childhood like?
Well, I grew up in Ralston, Nebraska, actually. I usually say Omaha because people don't know about Ralston. And I have 4 sisters and 1 brother. So it was a big family. And I went to Catholic grade school and Catholic high school. But in high school, I took 4 years of art. So I already knew I was going to be an artist, even in kindergarten. Before kindergarten, I knew that was me. And my family somehow knew I was always going to be an artist. I remember a drawing I made in kindergarten that to me was, still now, I think it was a really important step. It doesn't make any difference to anybody else, but at the time I made it, I knew I was doing something. And so I always was going to be the artist. I was not always the class artist, but that's okay.
Right.
And it helped having an identity right away. I think I worry about people who don't know what they are, which a lot of people are in that situation. I was lucky to have this as a focus. So in high school, I took 4 years of art. When I went to the university, I wanted to get into art right away, and especially into printmaking. So as a sophomore is when I started taking printmaking classes.
You had not done it in high school?
I did some printmaking in high school, and that was what kind of sparked my interest. I made a woodcut and a linoleum cut and a screen print.
So you can't really point to a time when you were not an artist.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives a certain kind of lens to look at the world and to look at the family hobbies and activities that we did, the hiking and the canoeing and camping, rock hunting.
Yeah, nice. So when you got to UNL, we already mentioned you got a BFA, and did you participate in any exhibits as an undergraduate?
Actually, we always had a student exhibition that the faculty selected. And I know that it must have been when I was a senior, the exhibition was in the Sheldon Art Museum. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Now they don't allow that. But it was like they took over the museum, and my art was in some of those beautiful galleries upstairs.
Did you show in high school or before?
I think in high school I did a street fair in Omaha.
You did?
I think my mother probably made me do it, but I took it and I won a prize.
Oh, nice.
Didn't make sales, but at least maybe I did. I don't
A
even
positive experience.
Yeah.
Anyway. Tell us about, yeah, we already did that. So in retrospect, how far did your academic work diverge from your graduate work?
Well, actually in graduate school, I made etchings. Dark. Really deeply bitten etchings that were used lots of black ink with little spots of color coming through. And I still love those prints and the process. But I think everybody needs like 5 years out of school.
Absolutely.
And then you really find yourself.
Right.
And because I started teaching. And when I was teaching at Columbus College of Art and Design, I taught relief printmaking, and I had to do woodcut printing. So I did it along with the students. And then I started learning all these possibilities. Nobody was, at the time, was taking woodblock or relief printing seriously. It wasn't in any of the experiences I'd had before, other than in high school. So it kind of had that lower technical classification.
Yeah.
And then here I was teaching it, and then I learned more things that could be done and more things that could be done. So it really sparked something for me. And I started making large prints that had big passages of color from the wood blocks. And that just, was really exciting.
Mhm.
And they received attention and got an Ohio Arts Council grant and an exhibition at the Columbus Museum of Art.
Mhm.
So that was like, oh, something really was good here.
And I guess I skipped over the step.
Mhm.
How did you choose Ohio from your undergraduate? What was the link there?
Actually, they accepted me. Other places did not,
Oh.
but for me, I was just lucky to get in. I didn't understand about how competitive it was or how the process, it's very different now. People recruit now,
Yeah,
and we had to call people on the
yeah,
phone and
yeah.
recruit. There it was just kind of,
So we're talking what, 75?
yeah, 75.
Yeah. Wow.
So I was lucky to get in,
Yeah.
and actually was going east.
Mm.
I wanted to go east.
Mhm.
And Ohio thinks they're not in the east, but compared to Nebraska, it is.
They are 800 miles to the east.
And it was a big city, 1 million people at the time, a big university. But when I got to their art department, it felt like the art department
Oh.
here.
Mhm.
So it felt kind of comfortable.
Mhm.
It was bigger, of course, but it was a great experience. It went too fast because they were on a quarter system and it was a 2-year program, but I actually took an extra quarter to finish.
So then how did you join Columbus Art and Design? School of Art and Design?
Well, I was really lucky that there was a position open and my professors told me, Karen, you must apply to this thing. And I had applied to other jobs, but this one was local, and this school had, what would we call it, enmity between Ohio State and Columbus. So it was like, will they ever accept somebody from Ohio State? But they did. And I got a sabbatical replacement job, and then I taught there for 4 more years.
Yeah. Wow.
I got to come back to Nebraska.
Yeah. So what was that like? You were an instructor, and how many courses did you teach?
At Columbus,
Yeah. School of Art and
5
Design.
courses
Wow. Wow.
each term.
Wow.
They really put people through the paces. They had a very interesting structure where each class met once a week
Mm.
instead of
Yeah.
2 or 3
Right,
times.
right,
Here
right.
I was used to meeting 3 times a week.
Right. For
So
2, 3 hours, right?
yeah. So it was a very different structure, and I got a lot of teaching experience that way.
Yeah.
Taught it all there at different times. So it was a good experience. And then coming back to Nebraska, I was away long enough that when I came back, it was like, oh, you're no longer a little student.
Yeah.
So I was teaching there at UNL with some of my colleagues that were my professors. So that was
So there must have been an opening at UNL that you heard about, and then, or that somebody invited you, or
sabbatical replacement.
oh, sabbatical. That sounds like a key.
So I was very lucky again
Yeah.
to get that position. And then Mike Nusha turned it into a 2nd-year leave without pay than him. So they kept me on another year. That year is when they offered the position as a tenure track line. And lucky, I got that.
Wow. We're lucky.
Yes.
Yeah. So then the final section is about personal. So tell us about your family. Did you marry or have a partner and children?
I did marry Kenny Walton. He's passed away 5 years now, and we don't have children. Kenny was an artist also. He was a blower. Kenny was a glass blower that I met at Ohio State.
Oh, okay.
He was blowing glass there, and he was in on the beginning of the studio glass movement, which was making glass on smaller levels than industrial glass. And that was a real revolution at that time too. And he knew it, and they built their own equipment and taught themselves. And so that was an interesting story to learn about from him. And then when I taught at Columbus College of Art Design. He was able to blow glass there
Oh.
as the spouse of a faculty member, so that was a big deal. And then when we came to Nebraska, I urged him to come because, Kenny, you could build your own glass studio. That was kind of the incentive, even though he never acknowledged being in Nebraska. He was always in Ohio. But of course, he was here all the rest of his life.
Right.
So that was good. And he did his arts and crafts show circuit.
Yeah.
With his glass in the street fairs and the art fairs.
Yeah.
And doing very well and successful in that.
Yeah.
So in a way, I've always seen the two sides, the academic side and the independent artist side. And being an independent artist that didn't have to come up with all the verbiage.
Of impact.
Yes. Yes, I think it's a human instinct to want to make things, and there's a satisfaction in that. And I'm fine with all the explanations that we have to do, but really I espouse to being a maker too. I need to feel best making things. So, and I said I had siblings.
Oh, yeah.
My parents actually were jewelers. They did it as their hobby. They would say they were artisans, but all that interest in the outdoor natural world, the rock hunting and all that turned into this
I see.
hobby to use the stones for jewelry making beautiful things. Back to that question about beauty and embellishment. I love all my jewelry.
Is this from them?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm looking at her rings.
Yes. And they're very simple. Of course, it's a lapis and this is a chrysoprase, but it's the sky and the water and the land, and, so they're kind of full of significance that way. And rock hunting, I think, was important for me as a hobby to find these amazing things that nature has transformed.
Yep.
And they're a luck to find them. Just
yeah. Amazing beauty in nature.
Yes.
So before retirement, what did you do for relaxation or entertainment?
Not Years and years ago in Ohio, Kenny and I did a lot of camping and fishing. I couldn't touch the fish, but I could fish. So we did that, and we did square dancing.
Oh,
that was fun. I like to read, but over the years, I had to read so much for the art practice and keeping up with the meetings and things like that. I didn't get a chance to read as much for fun, which is what I'm doing now in retirement. And it's so much fun to go to the library and just get books. You know how that is.
I do, yeah.
Sacrifice.
Since you retired, how do you spend your time? Specifically, I want to hear about Constellation Studios. When did that start?
I made a big project. Is it my retirement project to have Constellation Studios? I kind of think it is in a way, because I thought before I retired, how do I like being? And I like being around other people for art making when we don't even have to talk. We can just share the space and suddenly conversation happens, and then everybody continues to work. That ebb and flow of being in the studio is what makes me feel best. So, and I also worried about what's going to happen to all my equipment, because over the years I had duplicated everything. I had a studio at home, I had a studio on campus. Opportunities came up to buy these presses, the used presses. I could, my letter presses at the time I bought them were $250. Now they're going for $15,000. So it's like a valuable source of equipment that needed to stay together. So I envisioned Constellation Studios, which I started 5 years before I retired. Now we've been active for 11 years, and it keeps me moving and doing stuff and having a place with all my toys around me, the presses and the equipment and all of it organized and spacious. And I have some young people that are members, not enough yet. I have to build that audience. I keep running into lots of my former students.
Mm.
It's making me much more accessible here in this space, so that's been interesting difference too. And now we're having an expansion being built, so it'll bring in people that will rent studios and their circle of friends, and building a community is what I wanted.
How many studios?
There's 4 studios for rent and a classroom space, so people could plan to teach a class there.
Wow.
Mhm.
No, that sounds really good.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And the goal is this vision of contributing back to the community here, because I would see this model at so many of these places where I traveled outside. So I saw beautiful studios and at the communities sharing in Boston and in Georgia and then San Francisco. You see all these models everywhere, and it wasn't in Lincoln. So I'm trying to build that. And it's a slow process.
Well, you're located on the main street in Omaha, in Lincoln, and you've got a huge Karen Kunc on the side of your building.
Yes. That big mural, it's really a landmark.
It is very easy to see. All right, well, thank you very much for talking to me today, and I've enjoyed hearing your story.
Great, thanks. I hope I gave you enough stories.
It was great.
Great.